What was the most NSFW experience you've had at work? I worked overnight as a convenience store clerk when I was 20. A drunk woman came in and was thirsty but had no money, so I offered her coffee for free since it's not inventoried, or some tap water, but she didn't want that. She wanted apple juice. She offered to flash me for some apple juice, so I said sure. She went off camera and lifted her top and bra for like 3 seconds. 3 great seconds. She went and took 2 apple juices, and I didn't mind because she left happy, and I was happy. It was a good night, and all it cost was 2 apple juices on my tab. I was working at some big Canadian coffee chain when I was 16, and there was an annual meeting that the manager was organizing. I guess she couldn't find a babysitter for her son, so she brought him along. The problem with this is that he was actually a man in his 20s, with the mental capacity of a toddler. The guy was easily a head taller than me and would wander onto the floor behind the counter and would come back into the kitchen, where I was making donuts, and would simply take it and eat it in front of me with a terrible grin. Also, despite acting like a toddler, he apparently still had feelings for girls and decided that pulling up women's shirts and grabbing breasts and butts was a great way to pass the time. So here I am, a 16-year-old trying to do my job, when the manager's 21-year-old mentally challenged son just decided to very firmly grope my butt. I turned to him and asked him not to do that and to not touch me. Why? He asked me. I'm a man. Yeah, I'm glad that I'm out of there now, and the manager was a miserable old woman anyway. So I'm curious, was this guy okay with the butt grab because it was guy on guy, and therefore better somehow? Or was this kid under the impression that he could do whatever he wanted because he was a man? Not sure his condition qualifies him under the fullest definition of man, and sorry that this employee had to deal with this and eventually forced him out of the job. That's never a fun position to be in. I sell mattresses, and back when I first started, I had a woman come in that looked straight out of Jersey Shore. I built some rapport and based on her needs recommended she try a bed. Instead of just laying on the bed like a normal human being, she proceeded to climb in on the bed on all fours. With her behind facing me, she looked over my left shoulder back at me and said, "I feel like I could have a good time in this bed." Being new, I wasn't really sure how to respond, so I just said, "Yep, I'm sure you could." When I was 18, I was doing IT work for a small financial services company and accounting firm. Basically, I was converting all of their paper files into electronic files and doing IT troubleshooting in the office. One of the bookkeepers was about 35, but pretty good looking, and she kept telling me she had trouble logging in from home. So I kept insisting that she should bring her laptop into work, but she never did. Eventually, I went to her apartment to fix a simple issue, but then she told me her laptop was at work. I was really annoyed until she started blowing me. This continued as daily head in the filing room and pounding it out in the stairwell, till I got fired when rumors spread because she used to hook up with one of the managing partners, and he got mad about it. Best job I ever had. I used to set the scanner to run on ultra-high scans, so a folder used to take 30 minutes to scan. So I got paid to sit in front of a computer and watch Netflix, while occasionally scanning folders and frequent BJ breaks. Sounds like a pretty good gig to me. I bet when he got the job and they explained the salary plus benefits, he didn't expect those kinds of benefits. But to be fair, you probably could have kept a good thing going if you had just kept the hooking up to her apartment and away from work. I suppose that might be easier said than done, though. I used to sell cell phones and service in undergrad. This was when smartphones were taking off in terms of speed and market penetration. One thing they told us to push was sports scores and stuff like that. So they told us to get someone's favorite team and go to www.thescore.com and show them the site. Now, I was not a big sports fan, so I immediately brain dumped this info. About a month or two later, I had a customer in a football jersey, and I was super close to hitting my quota and getting a bonus. So I was really reaching. I was going to show him that site, but instead pulled out www.score.com, which was an adult film site at the time. Or maybe still is, I don't know. He liked that way more than football and bought the phone. Posted this before, but I used to be a store manager at a sneaker and sporting goods store in the mall. One of my coworkers was banging one of my teenage and also underage employees in the back stock room after the store closed on a regular basis. This was going on for several months, apparently. I found out when that said teenager came to me and she said that my co-manager promised her a raise that she never got. I asked her why. He said that he would give her a raise. And that is when she told me about the deeds done in the stockroom. I had to call the police and corporate about this, so we arranged a sting with the girl as she acted out for the police to meet up with my co-manager after work. Basically caught him with his pants down, to use the term. Now, I'm really glad that justice prevailed and this creep at least got caught and hopefully held accountable. But I also just feel really bad for the girl believing that she was actually going to get some kind of raise for her deeds. Talk about the lowest level of manipulation to just promise a teenage girl more money. A crazy homeless lady came into my job. I'm pretty sure she was on crack. She walked up to the counter, pulled down her shirt, and said, "Is my bra strap straight?" Sadly, I saw more than her bra strap. I have a coworker that I became close friends with, and we both have an immature sense of humor. During boring days, we would send each other weird stuff, so we always knew to use our phone and data instead of the PC to avoid HR calls. So one day I was feeling rather frisky and adventurous, so I went to the bathroom and took a pic of my boobs and got out and snapped it to him. The look on his face was priceless. Worked for a lawyer in a shared office with a few other attorneys. One of the attorneys, Albert, was a grumpy, narcissistic a-hole. Another one of the attorneys had a young female assistant named Isabel. We hit it off and got drinks after work a couple times. She had a boyfriend at the time, but she had told me that she'd been planning to break up with him for a while, and it seemed like something could definitely happen between us. The a-hole lawyer, who was about 20 years older than Isabel, took her to dinner, presumably as a professional guidance thing, but then tried to kiss her. She was not having it. A couple weeks later, after she broke up with her boyfriend, we banged in Albert's storage room on top of his old case files. Used to work at a restaurant in Texas called Jim's. I was in high school and just got kicked out of the house for being a little a-hole and taking my aunt's car to see this chick in the middle of the night. Anyway, I had to make ends meet to pay for rent and food, so I started working the late shifts the restaurant would offer. There was a girl there who would only work those shifts because her boyfriend would work during the day and she needed the car to get to work. So one day she showed up like 2 hours late and she looked pissed off. I overheard her telling the manager her boyfriend wouldn't let her use the car, so she had to take the bus after a huge fight. Fast forward to the end of the shift, which was around 1 a.m. She was calm now and the place was dead, so we were just standing around. Since she came in last, she would be the one to close the store, but since it was after the buses stopped, she asked me for a ride. I said no problem. She said she would make it up to me. The store closes and I'm waiting in my car for her to come out, and the manager stayed to do paperwork. She gets in the car and asks me if I ever had a BJ. I had several up until this point, but still told her no. So she grabs my D and starts massaging it till it's hard, and then takes it out and starts sucking it. She did not have a gag reflex either because I checked, or maybe my D is too small. So I finish and zip up. I then say, "Well, where am I taking you?" And she says, "Don't worry, my boyfriend will be here in a minute." So I took off when she got out. Women are effing ruthless. It seems like this guy was on the receiving end of some serious revenge BJ action getting back at her boyfriend. Effing ruthless is right on. With regards to her gag reflex, it might be non-existent, or well-trained, or this guy was in fact too small. Or it could be a combination of all three, really. Probably a cool experience for this guy, but remember boys, if she is so generous with you, she is probably generous with everyone. My former boss used to bang hookers in the office next to mine. And these were not nice hookers, but like meth heads. I could hear and smell everything, and they would walk past my office door 30 to 45 minutes later, all sweaty and stinky, and act like nothing happened. The one lady only had 8 teeth in her whole head. I met her at our front gate, and she told me that she was from the bank and was here to see my boss. I used to work at a lab at my former university. Beside the lab was my office, my boss's office, which you have to walk through to get to mine, and a storage room with biological equipment connected to my office. One day I was working late, like 9 p.m., and my girlfriend was in the area, so she stopped by. Anyway, things are getting hot and heavy in my office, and at one point, I have her sitting on the desk, pants off, and we are going at it. I hear someone coming down the hall, taking their keys out. Now, this is the only locked door in the corridor, so I know where they're headed. We immediately stop. I turn my monitor off, and we get into the storage room as fast as possible, pants in hand. Since I'm only wearing a condom on my bottom half, we go around the corner to the darkest area of the storage room. The room is like an L, so you would need to take about 2 steps in to see us. I hear someone start rummaging around in my boss's office and then walk back into my office. All I can think is, please don't come in here. The next thing you know, the storage room door is being unlocked. They step in, and they're about 6 feet from us now. So without turning the lights off, they grab something from the shelf closest to the door and leave. The next morning, my boss asked how late I worked because she came back around 9 p.m. to grab something, and the light was still on. So first of all, this guy has an awesome girlfriend who just swings by when he's working late and keeps him company, and it sure seemed like they enjoyed each other's company too. But can we talk about the dangers of getting frisky in a storage closet in the dark, especially one where you store biological equipment? Now, I don't know what was in there, but some of it cannot be pleasant to have spilled on your naked bodies in the heat of passion. Nothing says romance like third-degree chemical burns and an awkward conversation with EMS.